Welcome to Paranormal, where the shadows whisper and true stories blur the line between reality and nightmare. Every encounter shared here is real and far more disturbing than fiction. Dare to listen? It started with a house. Quiet, unassuming, a little old, a little worn, but nothing out of the ordinary. At least, that's what the narrator thought. What they didn't know is that this home, once owned by a priest, held on to more than just old memories. It held something else. Something unseen. Something patient. What unfolded in the weeks and months that followed was unlike anything the narrator or their wife had ever experienced. Subtle at first. But then, the darkness made itself known, through whispers, pressure, silence, and suffocation. This is their story. The house had a strange stillness to it when the narrator and their wife first moved in. It wasn't cold. It wasn't warm. It was just still. The kind of stillness that settles under your skin and stays there. When the previous owner, a priest, asked if they wanted to keep the decorations, the narrator didn't see any harm in it. So they agreed. What they didn't expect was the sheer number of crosses spread throughout the house. Not a few here and there, 15 in total, hanging on walls, perched on shelves, even tucked into odd corners. Silent, watching. One bedroom in particular had 7 crosses mounted to the walls. That room never quite felt right. Not creepy, but off. The narrator's wife, finding the abundance of religious symbols a bit overwhelming, decided to remove them. Maybe it was for aesthetic reasons. Maybe she just didn't want to feel like she was sleeping in a chapel. At first, nothing changed. But then, slowly, the home started bleeding money. Repairs popped up one after the other. Structural issues, plumbing failures, hidden water damage. No matter how much they patched or replaced, something else broke. Over $20,000 disappeared into the house. Coincidence, perhaps. Or maybe a consequence. The narrator couldn't say for sure, but the timing was too precise to ignore. The house was laid out with the master bedroom on one end and 3 smaller rooms on the other. After about a year of living there, the narrator decided to sleep in one of the far rooms, alone, away from the master. Just for a few nights. A change of scenery, nothing more. But from the very first night, something felt off. It began with a soft, high-pitched ringing, like the static hum you get when electronics buzz just above the threshold of hearing. Except it wasn't coming from a device. It was in the narrator's head, or the room, or both. Then came the pressure. Not emotional. Literal. The air grew thick, heavier with each breath. The weight settled on the narrator's chest like an invisible blanket, tightening with each passing second. Panic bubbled up. They tried to shout, to call out to their wife in the master bedroom. But nothing came out. The throat clamped shut. No voice. No breath. Just silence and weight. It felt like being held down. Choked. Suffocated by something unseen. And it didn't just happen once. It happened again the next night. And again the night after. For 2 nights, the narrator didn't leave the room. They wanted to show they weren't afraid. Maybe to themselves. Maybe to whatever was there. But on the 3rd night, they couldn't take it anymore. The pressure, the silence, the overwhelming sense of something malicious hovering in the air. It was too much. They returned to the master bedroom. Strangely, everything stopped. No pressure. No ringing. No paralysis. For a while, the narrator tested the waters, sleeping again in the other rooms from time to time, half expecting the suffocation to return. But it didn't. The energy shifted again. Still eerie, but not overtly hostile. But the strangeness didn't end there. There was a day, just an ordinary day, when the narrator stepped through the front door and stopped cold. No sound. No sudden movement. But every single hair on their body stood up, like walking through a static field, or being touched by something electric. Something alive, It felt like walking into a room that had been waiting for them. They brushed it off. Tried to, at least. But the feeling lingered. Things truly took a turn when guests came to visit. The narrator's wife invited her cousin and his partner to stay the night. They were never told about what had happened before. Not the choking. Not the crosses. Not the strange energy. It was just a regular overnight visit. Or so they thought. That night, each guest had a separate experience with what can only be described as a voice. The cousin's wife heard it first. A disembodied, unmistakably female voice that whispered just one word. Hello. Later, her husband heard something different. Same voice. Same eeriness. But this time it asked, "What are you doing?" No one was in the room. The house was quiet. There was no explanation. Later, the narrator's wife admitted something disturbing. She'd heard the same voice too. Whispering. Gentle, but deliberate. Almost conversational. Whatever this presence was, it wasn't tied to just one room. It wasn't just watching. It was trying to talk. It was picking its moments carefully. The logical response would be to get help. Maybe reach out to another priest. Have the home blessed. Cleanse the energy. But the narrator hesitated. Not out of doubt. Out of fear. Because if something truly was there, what if confronting it made it worse? What if it responded with anger? What if it had stayed quiet because no one had challenged it? So instead of reaching for holy water, the narrator turned to technology. Cameras. Surveillance. A plan to install devices in every room, every hallway, every corner. Not just for safety, for truth. Because the worst part of all this, it wasn't just the encounters. It was not knowing what it wanted, not knowing why it was there, and not knowing what removing those crosses may have unleashed. The house is calm, for now. But it's the kind of calm that doesn't feel like peace. It feels like silence before a scream. The narrator lives in a strange tension now, between disbelief and dread, between wanting to forget and needing to know more. Some may laugh. Some may call them paranoid or superstitious. But as the narrator says, call me crazy, but it is what it is. I've never experienced anything like this. Some hauntings don't come with footsteps or slamming doors. Sometimes they arrive as whispers in empty rooms, or as the crushing weight of air in your lungs at 3 a.m. And sometimes they wait. Wait for someone to take down a cross. Wait for someone to listen. Wait for someone to stay the night. If you've ever felt something you couldn't explain, or heard a voice when no one was around, drop your experience in the comments. Let us know. And if you believe some places remember what we try to forget, don't forget to subscribe for more true stories like this, only on Paranormal.